Barış Baktas and Yağmur Yüksel step onto the global stage in a head-to-head showdown with the Spanish sensation Las Sabinas, and the stakes have never felt higher. Welcome to Whispers of Turkish Stars. If you love following every heartbeat of our brightest talents, don't forget to subscribe and stay close, because today we're diving into the rise of the Wild Valley, known to audiences abroad as Esref Rüya, and the lightning-in-a-bottle harmony that turned Barış and Yağmur into an international talking point. Ready to go behind the curtain? Let's begin. For years, the idea of uniting these two names in a single drama felt like a rumor that would never materialize. Schedules collided, brand obligations overlapped, producers pulled in different directions, and the calendar kept saying no. Yet there was always a whisper in the industry: if they ever stand on the same set, something rare will happen. Destiny finally opened the door, and the Wild Valley walked through it. From the first production meeting, the series was engineered not as routine television, but as a cinematic world. The team committed to a 16-month pre-production marathon. Writers charted the emotional currents of every figure on the board, mapping inner storms with the care of novelists. A visual language was crafted with European consultants so the show would carry a screen sheen worthy of the grandest dramas. Nothing was left to chance, not tone, not color, not the breath between lines. At the center stood Barış Baktas as Esref, a man encased in the armor of family power, carrying the chill of secrets and a bone-deep suspicion of trust. Barış trained with multiple acting coaches, sculpting the character's restraint, then chipping away at that shell in microfractures, so each episode felt like a tectonic movement beneath calm terrain. Opposite him, Yağmur Yüksel became Nisan. To inhabit Nisan's contradictions, she studied music, let instruments change her posture, and found a voice that sounded like hope taught to whisper. For weeks she worked with body language mentors to balance fragility and force, shaping a woman who aches and endures in the same breath. The crew operated like a feature film unit. Each scene had its own storyboard Bible. Exteriors were not simulated but captured on location. In the edit, cinematic transitions turned moments into waves. A tailored color palette rendered the series like a moving artwork. Audiences noticed from minute one. The first episode broke onto social media like a storm front, with viewers marveling that they were seeing television framed with the patience and pulse of a film. Suddenly, Turkish screens were humming at a frequency they hadn't felt in a long time. What viewers couldn't stop talking about, however, was the electricity between the leads. Before premiere night, leaks from the set had teased the charge. Crew members murmured that the camera barely needed coaxing. Often, a single cue in the scene would run like current. Barış and Yağmur arrived prepared to the millimeter, and then they surprised each other anyway. On air, that preparation turned into chemistry that felt alive. People paused the quiet scenes because the silence had weight. They rewound the arguments to rewatch the way a glance could wound and heal in the same moment. When the love scenes landed, fans described an intensity that felt both guarded and genuine, a paradox that made sense only when these two stood together. Fan edits multiplied overnight on YouTube, drawing in millions. On TikTok, certain exchanges were remixed into challenges. Instagram became a gallery of frames from the Wild Valley, the still so artful they look like fashion spreads. Theories blossomed about Esref's mysterious past and Nisan's hidden strength. Art accounts posted sketches of Barış as Esref, jaw clenched but eyes burning, and Yağmur's Nisan, a melody of steel and softness. People weren't just consuming a show, they were living inside its weather. Then came the global leap. The Prime Video premiere opened a new chapter, and the results were immediate. In Latin America, where Turkish drama has long had a second home, interest surged. The hashtag Basavati trended in Argentina with more than 1 million uses in a week. Spanish critics called Esref Rüya a bridge between European sensibility and Turkish emotional architecture. The European Broadcasting Union took notice, and the series became a Golden Rose finalist, a seismic nod that echoed beyond the set's walls. For Turkish television, this wasn't merely a trophy case moment, it was a sign that a story rooted at home could speak fluently to the world. Meanwhile, 2025 shaped up as a banner year. Return to the Sabine women entered the international Emmy race, and Basavati, Esref Rüya, stood tall among Golden Rose contenders. Competition was fierce. Spanish juggernauts from TVE came armed with scale, Latin American blockbusters with sweeping emotion, and European prestige dramas with formidable budgets and pedigree. Yet, in jury rooms and critics' columns, four qualities came up again and again. The actors' blazing chemistry, the grounded realism of the world, the cinematic craftsmanship of the production, and the relentless emotional pull. The Barış and Yağmur effect wasn't just an on-screen illusion, it was a measurable force shaping how the series was received. Insiders on set described a partnership built on trust and technical excellence. When a scene turned difficult, they pushed together. When a moment demanded precision, they synchronized without speaking. The director said they worked like two instruments tuned to the same pitch, one darker, one brighter, finding a single note with multiple colors. The crew joked that the monitor acted like a heart rate tracker. When both entered frame, the pulse quickened, and everyone felt it. Against that intensity, the story's architecture rose. The Wild Valley Esref Rüya, in the eyes of the world, wasn't simply a love story, it was a chessboard of power, danger, betrayal, and the fragile hope of redemption. However strong the plotting, many maintained that the phenomenon might not have ignited without the particular harmony between its stars. Some even referred, half in jest, to early drafts as the Reviled Valley, because the initial arc dared to make characters hard to love before letting us watch them earn grace. That gamble paid off when Barış's icy restraint thawed in increments and Yağmur's gentleness revealed its steel. From day one, the production team repeated a mantra. The camera doesn't lie, but it does listen. It listened to the quiet breath between Esref and Nisan, to the crackle when a touch broke tension, to the pause that said more than dialogue could. On the page, the scenes were strong, on set, they became live wire. The writers wrote, but the leads reacted in real time with a sensitivity that made every beat feel discovered, not performed. Someone on the crew called them a seismograph of feelings, recording tremors others might miss. Context matters. Turkish television has gifted the world sagas that traveled far. Medcezir, Kara Sevda, Arkensikas, Susiyet, each with a fingerprint. But Yaban Vadi's blend of romance, high-stakes drama, suspense notes, and cinematic texture carved out a space of its own. In comparison pieces, critics praised how the series balanced grit and lyricism, held tension like a violin string, and still let light in at the edges. The visuals were both muscular and elegant. The sound design made the silences speak. All of it served the central duo, because every technical choice pointed back to them. It helped that Barış Baktas is the kind of performer who wears control like a second skin. He can stand still and create weather. His gaze suggests calculations he's not ready to share. Yet when the character cracks, he lets it happen like a slow avalanche, not a collapse. Viewers didn't just see Esref, they felt the discipline that built him and the cost of keeping him intact. On the other side, Yağmur Yüksel brought a kinetic sensitivity to Nisan. Her presence is quicksilver, spontaneous, bright, but anchored by a seriousness that keeps every smile earned. In some scenes she was the spark, in others, the anchor. Placed together, fire met ice, and the thaw became the story. The preparation that shaped those performances became a legend of its own. Barış refined Esref's stillness until it felt like sculpture. He studied turns of the head, the weight of a step, the rule that a guarded man rarely looks straight on. Yağmur layered musicality into Nisan's movements until the character seemed to pulse with her own rhythm. She practiced letting her voice descend into a deeper register when Nisan had to carry pain, then lifted half a note when hope broke through. Micro-choices accumulated into macro-truths. Fans sensed that rigor. They could tell when a line landing softly had been rehearsed to feel unplanned. They recognized when a breath timing between the two altered the meaning of a scene. That awareness bred devotion. Forums overflowed by episode 2 with essays on subtext and frame analysis. People timestamped moments when love threatened to surface and made supercuts of the exact second Esref's guard dropped, a blink captured and replayed like sports replay footage. With the Spanish giant Las Sabinas becoming the season's benchmark abroad, comparisons were inevitable. Rather than shrinking from the duel, the Wild Valley leaned in with confidence. Where Las Sabinas projected grandeur and spectacle, Esref Rüya countered with precision and pulse. Jury notes from international panels praised the way the Turkish series made risk feel intimate. It had scale, yes, but its power surged from two hearts battling for a bridge between them. That's where Barış and Yağmur lived, and that's why viewers stayed. As awards shortlists rolled out, the mood on set remained focused and almost superstitious. No one wanted to name the dream too loudly. The team quoted the same four pillars audiences kept citing: chemistry, realism, cinema, intensity. The formula wasn't a secret, the alchemy was. It flourished in the midnights when the final light change needed tweaking, or in that last take when both actors chose silence over speech and the director whispered, "We have it." Industry veterans acknowledged that even an airtight script would have struggled without this pairing. Conversations with colleagues circled the same point: time has a way of rewarding truths, and the truth here was that two performers found a shared frequency. The difference between acting and reacting became the story's bloodstream. The more tightly the plot coiled, the more clearly the central bond glowed. By the time the season crested, the series felt less like a release and more like a movement. International viewers learned to pronounce Esref and Nisan. Memes gave way to meditations on trust and survival. The show's aesthetic, the deep blues, the errant golds, the nocturnal cityscapes, seeped into fashion shoots and music videos. Directors across markets referenced its grammar. And still, at the center, were two people doing the most difficult thing with deceptive ease: listening to each other on camera. When the credits rolled on the finale, a quiet settled that felt like a held breath. Then the world exhaled in numbers and noise: streams, posts, articles, votes. The Wild Valley had not only told a story, it had claimed territory. The Spanish Titan stood tall, yes, and Las Sabinas was a worthy rival, but the Turkish series met it without flinching. In a year when Return to the Sabine women chased an international Emmy and Basi Vadi, Esref Rüya reached for the Golden Rose, one truth threaded through the celebrations: the pulse at the core of this success was the Barış and Yağmur effect. If you felt it too, if you watched a glance become a turning point, if a silence spoke louder than a monologue, then you know. This is the kind of harmony that makes continents lean in. And here, at Whispers of Turkish Stars, we'll be watching where their story goes next. Until then, keep your eyes on the screen and your heart tuned to the frequency they found together. Don't forget to subscribe, because the next chapter is already being written, and you'll want to be here when the first line is spoken.